Hello, welcome back.
Hello, Mover.
Hey,
It's the Mover and
Shanghai.
Gonky show, and featuring Shanghai, who's joining us. Thank you for coming back. It's been
hey,
2
thanks for having me.
years.
It's great to be here. It has
Yeah,
been over 2 years. Yeah, it's crazy.
2 years since we talked, and tried to get you on a while back. Just want to make sure. Are you okay?
I'm doing good.
Okay, because we had some technical issues last time with some laptops and stuff, so we got you back, and everything's good.
The new background's better.
No, it's just, well, I just moved the desk over, but
I know,
I still tried to load up the picture behind it, but I don't know. Whatever.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Tomorrow.
Oh,
Doug, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome, man.
Doug is there. So we are back. You guys saw me last night, so people are already sick of me. But Gonky, you've been off the grid for 2 weeks now in space, and now
quite the adventure.
You've returned to fill us with your knowledge and life.
I was digging that background you had, though, Gonky. It looked like you were in like a stadium, that where they were just done sweeping up, and you're like the last guy on the mic out there.
Yeah, I borrowed that place. I can't afford stuff like that, Shanghai.
It's cool. I liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, as always, the views are our own, especially for whatever we're about to talk about, because it's going to get wild. And just a reminder, if you want questions, it's got to be a super chat, because otherwise we just won't get to it, because we're dual streaming, right? We are dual streaming. So otherwise we do the mailbags to try to answer everybody's question.
Is dual streaming like dual hydraulics? Is that
we are? Yeah. And Shanghai, on that note, while we're talking about it, tell us about your new podcast, man. You're about to venture off into the world of us.
Yeah, you'd think I'm not, based on my technology limitations.
Oh, well, look at Gonky.
Yeah,
he evolved.
Yeah. As I said to Gonky, this is the workups for tomorrow night. But yeah, tomorrow night we're going to just go ahead and launch the fleet. So it's Warthog Wednesdays,
nice.
And it will Warthog Wednesdays. Yeah, it will be at see if you can figure this one out. It'll be at 8:10 Central Daylight Time. 8:10. 8:10. Yeah, cool. That's and we're launching it. And we're launching it on 10/11. And so my combat squadron was the 511th Fighter Squadron, and it was the 10th Fighter Wing, Tactical Fighter Wing. So 10/11 it's got to be a good omen, right? And I'm trying to get my boss, my squadron commander from that time, Mike O'Connor, on the program tomorrow. But it's going to be fun. So Warthog Wednesdays is going to be every Wednesday at 8:10. It's on a YouTube channel that is, you can just find it by my name, Shanghai, or Two Bags Full, two as TWO, Two Bags Full, which is the also coincidentally the title of my forthcoming book, which we were talking about 2 years ago.
Book too?
Shanghai, you're an author?
I've been working on it for 32 years, so we'll see.
Wow,
that is awesome.
Yeah. So Two Bags Full is will be a firsthand in the cockpit account of flying combat in the mighty A-10 Warthog in Operation Desert Storm. So there's been a couple of other books out that have talked about that subject, but not one like this. This one's going to be kind of like nerding out on switchology and just what I was thinking about and what we're doing and hitting tankers and fighting the weather and all that kind of good stuff. So it's going to be it's coming along well. Somebody gave me good advice. I'm not going to give any names, but his initials are Mover, and it was just finish the first draft, man. Even if it's a shitty first draft, you got a first draft. It's easier to edit than it is to create. So I'm well into that. And other good news, thanks to Uncle Sam, it looks like a VA disability, because we're going to talk about mental health here in a bit, but we're going to talk about that on my show too. It's going to be called Momentarily Mental is what we're going with. My little segment there, but it's actually going to be a fairly significant theme of the show is veterans in crisis. As I mentioned 2 years ago, I was working at that time more than full time, like 100 hours a week. No shit.
Oh, yeah.
As working with the homeless veterans here in Oklahoma City, and I continue to do that on more of a volunteer basis now. It's actually only a volunteer basis, but the point is that that's a significant issue. We're gonna talk about that. So the cool A-10 stuff, cool aviation stuff, and then also what's going on with veterans and how we can help them, and of course shamelessly promote the book when it comes up. But my point is that it looks like due to the PACT Act and something called Gulf War Syndrome, which is a real thing. We'll talk about that on my channel as well. But the old Shanghai is going to get about 17 months of back pay and 100%. So that's a big check, and so that check is going to allow me to self-publish the book. So
hell yeah, there you
Nice,
go,
man.
Well, we got to get you
Following.
back on to promote the book
You bet.
when that
Yeah.
time comes. Well,
Yep, and we'll set a deadline, and that way I'll get it done. So it's just
yeah,
as you know, you gotta kind of plow through it. But you get those bursts of creativity, and you get all these ideas, and then you just want to get them down on
yeah,
the laptop. So yeah, so now I've got the freedom time wise to do that a little more earnest, and
yeah.
and so yeah, there we go. So that, of course, that transitions, from where I was doing no kidding 100 hours a week nonstop. In 3 years, I took 2 days off, and that was to attend my son's wedding. Literally,
Jeez.
that. I mean, I'm not exaggerating that. It's good work. As I said last time, it's a grind. It's a worthy grind. But a little over almost 3.5 years of being the resident manager of a facility with 20 male veterans who were previously homeless is
Wow.
on a shoestring nonprofit budget, and especially now with inflation the way it's been, it was
Yeah.
it was all you want, and you can actually burn out. And I know we're going to talk about when to leave later, and there's part of that story too. But yeah, so anyway, thanks for letting me make the plug on
Oh,
the
yeah.
thing. So tomorrow night, 8:10 on your YouTube, Two Bigs Full.
Eastern time, 8:10 Eastern,
8:10
7:10
Central. 8:10 Central.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, because
9:10
the world revolves around somewhere
Oklahoma.
Central.
Oklahoma
Central.
and Texas.
Yeah.
Between Oklahoma and Texas, it's shifted to the pendulum swung to Oklahoma when we beat them in football this last weekend.
I've been to Oklahoma, Shanghai. I don't believe you, but
We're called the buckle of the Bible Belt, and that would be the I don't know what would be the spinner of the gun on the A-10. So the center of the
There
world.
you go. Well, I'm going to plug a book too, because Absolute Vengeance is only 99 cents for this month. So got a
I like
book
that.
deal. I'll tell you about
Nice.
BookBub when you finally get published, because it usually works out. Except I would be an Amazon bestseller today, except Amazon didn't update the rankings, so it looks like I didn't sell anything. It's awesome.
How about this guy Gonky with the children's books? It's
the
awesome.
children's book?
That's
Yeah.
so cool. Great idea,
He's-
man. And
Thanks.
super
Well, I
awesome.
have a kid, and I'm
He's
like,
the author
yeah.
and a client.
well, it's
right?
like I look at these books, I'm like, I can do better than this. So,
Yeah, that's what? That's a build a better mousetrap. That's an American dream, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I think it's awesome.
Thanks,
And
man.
I'm sure it's getting lots of traction, and especially the Marine F-35 pilots, because you get to crayon out.
Yeah.
How to
you
find
can
my
use more than
jet.
one color.
Where did my jet just go?
That'll be your next book. Anyone see my F-35?
How to find my airplane when it goes
Yeah,
rogue.
didn't you love that? Didn't you love that? That 911 call. Those no, I ejected. Did not eject me. I ejected.
Yeah, the knife hand.
How far
you
did
know that
how far did
dude
he
was
fall? How far did he fall? Oh, all the way.
Yeah. About
2,000
2,000 feet.
2,000 feet. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, geez. We already have a from the audience that which is a good segue. Is Gonky the ghost of Tel Aviv now?
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. But that is a good
Thanks, man.
segue to what we're going to talk about. We're going to try to keep this as friendly as possible. I know it's a hot topic, but the first thing, anytime anything like this comes up, regardless of anything, you always feel for the civilians. You feel for anybody, non-combatants, stuff like that, because they always get caught in the middle, no matter what kind of conflict it is. But what happened this weekend was horrific. It's something that is probably going to kick off another long-lasting conflict that we're going to see for quite some time. And the Israeli Air Force, which is really what we're going to talk about, has started doing strikes in Gaza. And also the United States has put a carrier strike group out there. And with the basic, hey, if you guys, this is the warning, not to make this a regional conflict. And then they're even talking about maybe another carrier strike group. So Shanghai, I want to turn this over to you, because, this very similar to kind of what you saw in the 90s when war kicks off. I mean, what goes through your mind when something like this happens and hey, things are about to get worse and bad?
Well, a couple of things. One thing is this is eerily similar in some respects and very different in others. And I think maybe I was thinking about this earlier today, that when you look at Russia invading Ukraine, they basked on the border. There was a lot of saber rattling going on. But when they did it, they just did it, and they did it fast, right? And you could say, well, we saw that coming, but but they didn't see it coming the way it came, but also it was very different because you had relatively rural areas across that border, and then various small or medium-sized cities on a push which they thought would be quick to the capital city. Very different in Israel, where first of all, that's been a contested border for thousands of years, right? In fact, just ironically, just a couple of weeks ago, was burned out from writing and switched over to the YouTube movies, and I watched the movie. I can't remember the name of it. It's an old time movie about Israel and the Israelis being I'll think of it in a minute, but they're it's a famous book too. Leon Uris. Anyways, Exodus. Thank you. Yeah,
I knew Doug was gonna. I knew it.
This is why he's the producer. Thank you, Douglas.
I thought it was God. Thank you, God. It was the second book of the Bible. I had to go through Genesis all through my mind before I got to it. Yeah. So, in the beginning. So anyway, but it's interesting because that same fight going on, and the same thing where the Palestinians and the Israelis, and so.
It's not Gonky.
Gonky
this time.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, we'll transition while we wait for him to come back.
Well,
it's he saw it happen. I don't know, but
well, I mean, like Shanghai's saying, man, that region. So I grew up there, and all throughout the 80s, 90s, that region, it's very sad, man. It's just been war torn, right? You had the Palestinians and the Israelis, and then you had the Iran-Iraq war. There's always been a lot of conflict over there, and it's just, I don't know. I mean,
so my question is, the Israeli intelligence apparatus, one of the most, the most advanced in the world. They have, everything along the border. They watch. They're constant. They give us intel, right? The Israelis are just number one when it comes to this. How did they miss it? Because it's not that they didn't say that. Hamas was in. Right. I think in Lebanon, like planning this, they knew that the $6 billion freed up some money to go do some other stuff. Like there were a lot of signs leading up to this, and it seems like they got caught flat-footed.
Well, for sure, you're going to have some to say that they knew about it and they just let it happen for whatever reason.
The 9/11 conspiracy, yeah.
Then there's probably, dude, you know how it is. If you've had an extended period of peace where there hasn't been a whole lot going on, you start seeing these signs, and it's like, it's nothing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But to Shanghai's point about comparing it to the Ukraine invasion, well, one, Crimea had already happened, almost 10 years earlier, so there were already land grabs before that. This was not a conventional thing. They were on, you see the paragliders, the little go-karts with the fans and the parachutes. They were airborne. They were using drones, where has the proliferation of drones started? The Ukraine. We didn't talk about, FPV drones, first person view drones before that conflict. So there's lessons learned from that. And they were using it to take out watchtowers, to take out sensors, to put troops across the fence lines. And then what did they do? They massacred 250 people or 260 people at a peace and love concert. Just total warfare. Surprise.
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably symbolic in itself. That was definitely a planned target.
Yeah. Well, it is the holidays. It's the end of the holidays where they're not talking to anybody. They shut off from social. They kind of do the Gonky thing where they go away for 2 weeks and they don't talk to anybody. And that's part of, their religious practices in there. So they're obviously taking advantage of that. The response has been, the coin counterinsurgency ops. This is exactly what we've seen for the last 20 years in Afghanistan, and more Iraq than Afghanistan, because the urban fighting, you're bombing city blocks and stuff. You did a lot of Afghanistan stuff. There wasn't much, like you're talking mountains and villages and stuff like that. Iraq we were flying over Balad, and Baghdad, and you're bombing city blocks, not just, whatever's there. But see, Shanghai, he's back with an A10.
That's it. That wasn't. Yeah, but it just shut down. I think. I guess we can't talk about Israel.
Did you just get real time
kind of what happened?
I
literally, the thing just said, it said locked. The computer said locked, and it just booted. It just wound down. Then I had to boot back up. So I don't know.
That's what happened to me 2 weeks ago. So I don't remember.
It's exactly what I thought when that happened. I was like, oh, this is weird. But
you guys have these F-35 computers.
My thought is that they went in. Hamas went in very, very fast. They went in on the Sabbath, and it was a holiday as well, religious holiday. So in the Sabbath. So and just with all those rockets, just with impunity, without regard to where those rockets were going to land. Those are just terror weapons, obviously, and then rolling through, the southern border there. And just slaughtering people. I mean, people in their homes. Those little kibbutzes will have a kibbutz. They call them kibbutz security, kibbutz guard, and they're generally former military people. It's kind of like your neighborhood watch with automatic weapons, but there's relatively few of them, and they were just mowed down. There was no defense there, and so obviously they caught Israel sort of with their pants down a little bit. They're sleeping, caught them asleep, but it seems to have taken. I'll make this one comment. I'm not criticizing anyone, or I will take sides. There's no doubt about that. But it's where's Israel's army for the first couple of days? Essentially, really. I mean,
well, they'd
be ready to roll quick right down the road to the south.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, they did a pretty advanced mobilization. I think 300,000 reservists were put into service within 48 hours of all this happening. I mean, I think they repelled most of the invading force.
But you think,
you think they have like an alert, right? Shanghai, is that what you're talking about? Some sort of
2
alert
days or so. But well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, obviously they've got the Air Force, on alert. They're only a couple minutes from the border, but we're not going to see or hear much of their Air Force, obviously, because we never do. They're very secretive. But I did see a couple of big LGBs coming down to a building a couple yesterday. But you'd think they would have mechanized armor on alert, just like we do fighters on alert for that border. And of course, they've got their Iron Dome, and it's been somewhat effective. It's not that effective against things like rockets, but it's a unprecedented kind of escalation of what's been going on for a long time. And it's just to get all my comments out. The other thing I'll say is I'm a little suspicious of $6 billion being sent to Iran recently. No kidding. It's no secret who funds terrorist organizations like Hamas. And obviously this is something they've been planning for a while, and they had to stockpile a lot of weapons. But grabbing of hostages, civilian hostages. I understand taking military personnel as prisoners of war, but taking civilians, babies, children, not the whole family, snatching kids and taking them down south to be hostages in tunnels where they stockpile their weapons is beyond the pale, really.
Yeah, and that's actually 2 points I wanted to make about the tactical picture. One being I've never heard of what they call it, a roof knock. That was the first time I'd ever heard of that, watching some of the Israeli strikes. And for those that don't know, what that means is they drop, some small inert ordnance on the building to let people know this thing's about to get destroyed, to give the civilians time to leave. And then they knock it down. They demo it. With live ordnance. Right. And then the second part to that, the reason they're doing that is because Hamas is using mosques, hospitals, schools, tunnels. Like they are putting themselves, they're using human shields, which makes a tactical picture. And when you talk about the larger geopolitical scape, what that allows them to do, it's important to distinguish the Palestinian people, the civilians, the non-combatants, with the combatants, the Hamas and stuff like that, because what ends up happening is they use these as a political tool, and they go, look, they're killing civilians. They're worse than anything else. Look at they're colonial, all this stuff. And what does the media now? And it's both sides. Gonky, you were talking about this before. There's so much misinformation and fog of war type stuff where it's just to get people riled up on one side or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Shanghai brought up a good point. I mean, just follow the money, right? I mean, this stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think you can make a Right. Yeah. It's you can stockpile a lot of weapons over a period of time, like Hamas has obviously done, but to sustain that kind of a fight and to to feed your people, to deal with all the refugees that you created amongst your own people, because you knew what the response was going to be. There was no doubt about that. And so it's just an unprecedented escalation at a very unique time in the world history. And I mean, not to wax too philosophical, but I'll say one thing before I just say is that I'll separate the political stuff and the possible conspiracy stuff from the military stuff. We want to talk about the military stuff, like you said, Mover. These Hamas cats, they're not dressed like Israeli soldiers are. They fit in, they blend in well with the local populace. So you really don't know who's whom, like similar to what we've experienced in Afghanistan and Iraq for the last 20 years ourselves. But I did see a good interview. I was watching on YouTube. There's a channel. It's I'll make a plug for them, I guess. I-24, which is Israeli 24-hour news, and it's broadcast around the world. And so I was watching that. It's obviously biased to some degree, but I wanted to see what was what the Israeli reaction was and what was happening there. And so they did interview a soldier. I believe he was maybe the equivalent of a colonel, so probably like a brigade commander. And they were, as Gonky was saying, they were massing their troops and about ready to start some kind of a tactical plan. They had regained some of the ground that was invaded along the border there, so it was a fair and balanced reporting in that the reporter was Israeli, was saying well, there's been a lot of casualties in Israel, a lot of damage. The damage that's been done in those Hamas areas there south of the border is devastating as well, and it's significant. And there's been women and children and civilians killed there too. And he got a little defensive, but he made a good answer. He said we are Israeli. We have been fighting for thousands of years. We have no place else to go. This is our homeland, but we will fight with honor and with our morals intact. And I thought, good answer, man. And it wasn't just the answer, the answer he learned in Army War College. It was, you could see the emotion in his face and the fierceness of his conviction there. And I believe that's true. And you got to also remember that Israel's a country where every young man and woman serves in the military right after high school. So they have the background of a country that's been at war. They know their history. They know how bloody it's been, what it's cost. And they're willing to pay that price, but they're going to pay it. I think they're going to pay it with dignity and honor, in as much as you can in war. But you have to answer violence with violence, and you don't answer it in kind. You answer it with impunity. And back to Gonky's point about the Desert Storm is that the contrast I was making is these very quick, not shocking, but surprise at when they occurred, and with the fierceness which they occurred. And you contrast that to my war, where yes, the Iraqis invaded Kuwait quickly, and overran them immediately, obviously. But then they just sat there, and there was negotiations and peace talks and and such from 6-7 months of that. And that gave us time to build a coalition, to get worldwide approval, UN approval, to try all of the avenues of averting what would occur otherwise, and did occur otherwise. But when we did it, we just went, man. It wasn't let's mosey up there and take a look. It was, we're going to send everything we got all the time, 24/7. And we're not going to let up until it's done. then we're going to go home. And we did it with the unprecedented use of air power, the likes of which had never been seen before and will never be seen again. And also with the cooperation of the services and many countries with different viewpoints, but you think about the Army acquiescing to the Air Force for a significant period of time. Soften them up with air power for a little bit. It takes a boot to get a boot off the ground, but those 40 days and 40 nights of nonstop bombardment in a very strategic way, then tactically carried out with tremendous efficiency, was awe-inspiring and devastating to the third largest army in the world. So you've got some parallels there in terms of what kind of conflict this is. It's pretty low tech rate from the start, and it's gonna just become a ground slog again. It's these things. It's gonna be a door to door, building to building, person to person. Find our hostages, hopefully alive, and just bring Hamas to their knees. There's not going to be. I don't think there's going to be a negotiated, Palestinian settlement anymore down there. This is going to be a definitive
slog.
Conflict. Yeah. And you just wonder, like, what other countries are going to be involved in this?
Well, but that's why the U.S. sent a carrier group, right, or two possibly. I mean, the idea is to keep other actors at bay and not make this a giant regional conflict. We do have from the audience, the IDF alerts were scaled to the last threat, which was small groups, not 1,500 fighters plus. They moved a division to the WB, I guess, West Bank. The $6 billion is untouched in an account that can't be accessed by Iran. That is true, but it's not lacks context, because what happened was the funds were unfrozen. I think it was Korean bank. Unfrozen, it's in Qatar, but it's still, when you give them $6 billion, you're saying, okay, you freed up $6 billion here, you're going to get this money, you can then use it elsewhere. So, I mean, whether it's directly funding, probably not, but whether you've
$6 billion is pretty good equity, pretty good credit. Yeah, they probably get pretty good credit.
There's other payments in the last several years that have also been freed up. It's not just the one $6 billion payment. I mean, the thing is, it's the same thing I just talked about the Palestinians. Iranian people are different from the Iranian government. Yeah. One is screaming death to America, and one is like, dude,
don't poke the bear.
Two different things. And so when I talk about that country, I'm not saying the people.
Good point.
Because I think by and large, in fact, there was something at a soccer game or something where, the national soccer team was talking about celebrating and stuff, and people in the stands were like, we don't want that. We don't need that. I think you have to separate the people from their government. And especially we see this even here in the United States, where, just because a government is for one thing doesn't mean at the base level the people are bad or people are for whatever. But yes, when you give an organization that is funding terrorism $6 billion that they don't have to spend somewhere else, it's still going to be funding terrorism. I mean, y'all are staring at me. Did I say something stupid?
Good point.
No, man. The hard part, dude. I mean, like Shanghai and the first Gulf War.
That was good.
I mean, you were fighting an organized military, and you say what you want about the Iraqis, but at least they, as a military, I mean, they were organized. They had rank structure. They had some dignity. When you're fighting like terror groups, it's like there's no rules with them, and it makes it, it just makes it that much harder. That's why you have to go door to door. It gets super messy.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of podcasts from former special operators, SEALs and Delta and stuff, and some guys that have just really distinguished themselves on the battlefields of Iraq and Kuwait or Afghanistan. And Gonky, it's the stories of those guys, doing that kind of fighting against these insurgents, a 360-degree threat. They all look alike. And oh, by the way, the 14-year-old kids have guns too, and they'll use them. And the woman carrying the baby towards a mosque may just blow herself up, So that kind of stuff is so what I was sort of alluding to is you can roll through with armor, and you can bring their enclaves to rubble with their power as they've been doing, but eventually you've got to go door to door, and that is a very, very long, hard, bloody situation, especially with the will to fight of both of those sides. We had a situation in Desert Storm where you had a lot of conscripts, and of course this is part of our strategic plan is we want to go in and we want to eliminate their ability to wage war, but also their will to wage war, and so the ability is one thing, and certainly Israel has the armament and the backing of people like us to do that, but the will of the Palestinians, the will of the Israelis, and the willingness to do really heinous things of these terrorist organizations like Hamas is a whole different set of circumstances, and it seems to be the norm in conflicts lately, and it's really disturbing. It's not just disturbing from someone, from the standpoint of somebody who was a professional at arms, but it's just disturbing as a human being. And what does it say about our culture? What does it say about our world morality? What does it say about the future of this world when we have conflicts like this, where you're just indiscriminately killing everyone and raising everything to rubble? Just because it's not. And as I was alluding to earlier with these operators, these bad actors, it's like it's also they don't care, but they don't care. They don't care about world opinion. They don't care about international tribunals and Geneva Conventions and even basic even basic golden rule. I mean, it's really disturbing. I think that's why Boober, the comment you made about it's not the people, it's their leaders. I'm somber because it's a somber topic. It's just I'm kind of almost at got a lot of emotional thoughts about it, but then
all right, so we got Garrett says, I won't be surprised if we don't get directly involved. We have mobilized our naval forces pretty quickly, and there are possible American hostages. I unfortunately don't think the hostages would survive, to be honest with you. I think where they're putting the hostages, if they even are still alive, I think that's a really low probability situation, but I don't know. That's I hope not, but I do think this is going to be a long, protracted, we're going to have a two-front situation with Ukraine, where we're supporting that with arms and assets financially and whatnot. And then we're going to have this, because I don't think this is going to end, because they're not, when you have such a colossal failure of the ability to protect yourself, they're going to want to make sure this never happens again, which means they're going to be on the war path, which, to your point, Shanghai, Krav Maga, right? That's Israeli, means contact combat. And one of the tenets of it is avoid, negotiate, kill, which I used in one of my books. I kind of cheated on that one, but they try to avoid, or at least the tenet is you avoid, if you can, run away, talk your way out of it with negotiate. So, if you can't avoid altogether, then you try to negotiate. And once that's done, it's what you said, it's kill. And that doesn't just mean kill the attacker. It means kill their ability to fight and kill their will to fight. And the problem, though, is that when you've got an ideology, every time you kill somebody, you make 5 more. And that's what we discovered in Afghanistan. That's what we discovered in Iraq. You cannot force somebody into a democracy. You cannot force somebody into kumbaya. It is very hard with radicalized people. And so moving forward, because I don't want to get anchored on this for too long, on that note, so, it was actually going to be a topic for the, it was actually going to be a topic for the Ukraine stuff previously, but now it makes sense. Is the A-10 valid for this? Is the A-10 something that, you may think is a viable option?
Of course.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, in terms of if they had A10s and A10 drivers, you bet. I mean, I in terms of any airplane for any conflict that, I don't think this is where you're framing the question, but whether it's F-16s for Ukraine or A10s for whomever, and there's going to be a lot of talk about A10s for a lot of people now that this year, this fiscal year that just got underway, they've got 42 A10s being retired, C models, and I think the timetable for the total retirement of the A10s will be moved up, frankly, because there's a lot of talk now that it's kind of a fait accompli. The F-35 production line, they're claiming that they could crank those out faster and get those in service faster if we didn't have the drain on supply chain and personnel of the A10. So I think once they decide to retire something, it's going to go faster than we think. But so there's going to be a lot of talk about A10s for a lot of places, and I fall on the side of by the time you get any airplanes to some other country, you get pilots trained and maintainers trained, and the supply chain of parts and all that stuff, the conflict will be over. But if they had A10s, absolutely, man. I mean, again, I watched. I guess it was the first morning of the response of Israel, and you could see the LGBs coming down, into those buildings, and but I just think, in terms of insurgents and terrorists, and the guy on a motorcycle or the back of the truck with a AK, something about A10 is going to go in there and be able to see that conflict developing, see where the good guys are and see where the bad guys are, and put down some very, very lethal fire very close to friendly troops with very little, if any, collateral damage. And I'm sorry, you're just not going to do that from an F-16 screaming in.
Well, they got the gun. I mean, you've got the gun is the most surgical weapon. Well, now they've got laser rockets, but
but the gun, absolutely. I mean, that's my point. Is that gun, those bullets are going exactly where your airplane's pointing, and they're getting there really fast. It's a huge projectile. It's not going to be affected by wind or bullet drop. It's just going to go where you're pointing at, and put 70 rounds a second down in about a 3-meter circle. It's a heck of a weapon. And then be able to take a lot of punishment, be able to take the guy, blasting away at you with an AK-47, A10's going to laugh at him for the most part. So, and that's the thing, is that, in these kind of conflicts, obviously they really would have benefited Ukraine, an aircraft like that in those early days when they were all bogged down in the mud, miles long in convoys.
Yeah, the tanks. I mean, obviously that's what it was originally designed for, but it's really shined in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, it's and an aside to that or whatever is that I think America is going to be very, very sad that they retired the A10. There's many uses for it. Maybe and again, half the numbers that we have now, which is half again of what they built. But there's a darn good use in a lot of places for a couple squadrons of Hogs, for sure.
Oh yeah.
I just cannot understand why anybody can't see why we need A10s or a viable A10 replacement.
Right.
Don't tell me the freaking F-35 can do that, because another great A10 driver, Pig, was telling me a story once. He was in Afghanistan supporting troops on the ground, and some F-16s came in because they were getting low on gas, bombs, probably all the above. They were passing the sit rep.
We're tired of being there.
Right. We did too much killing today. But no, the F-16s were like, "Hey man, how's the weather?" He's like, "Oh, below 3,000, it's great." The F-16s are like,
what?
We can't go down there. And I mean, the A-10's just down there laying waste, right? So I mean,
absolutely,
there's absolutely a place for a heavily armed and armored, slow flying tank, dude.
I know we're going to talk about the Frogfoot later, and it's the same thing. But it's certainly valid to say that the airframe is reaching its lifespan. In fact, it's gone past it. They re-winged all the airplanes that are in service now to extend them this far. But and it is expensive to stretch out the life of an aircraft like that. But it's still a bargain. It is a Dollar Tree bargain compared to an F-35 in terms of what it costs to maintain the thing per flying hour, and just what it costs to acquire it. But we're just down this road again of putting all of our eggs in one basket. I'm not saying the F-35 is an awesome aircraft. From what I know about it, it has some unbelievable capabilities. I mean, it's a game changer in a lot of arenas, unless you're flying within 25 miles of lightning, for instance, or something. But my point is, that's a joke a little bit, but it's not. They can't fly within 25 miles of lightning, and so, but it used to be 50. but my point is, there's limitations to that GWAS technology, up to and including EMPs. That's one you might want to consider.
Shanghai, that's exactly right. Right. We were talking about the A-10 when it was Ukraine. We were like, well, wouldn't be useful because of we got to look at the next conflict. And the next conflict is going to be contested, denied, degraded environment with SAMs and these air-to-air threats. And now look where we're back. We're right back in the Middle East against insurgents that have no air picture, that just need surgical, urban combat, surgical precision strikes with a gun or supporting soft forces or whoever.
And frankly, when you know where the SAMs are, even the mobile SAMs, and with the effective jamming, plan, whether it's standalone jammers like we had EF-111s, for instance, EA-6s, and then we had an ALQ-131 jamming pod on our aircraft. So, you put enough trons out there, an acceptable miss distance for the missile, give yourself time and altitude to see the missile coming at you. You can defeat missiles with maneuvering as well. And so, is it a tough environment? Is it dangerous? Are you going to have some losses? Of course you are. But you can do those things, in what would be considered a heavy IADS type environment with relatively low tech aircraft in terms of who's going down the chute. Put some F-35s out there and some, jam the trons, whatever they do. Just make a corridor to bring the bomb carriers in and put the stuff down the chute. These they're talking about, we're gonna fly over at 25,000 feet and just drop, these small diameter, GPS bombs on them. Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe, but in a fluid troops in contact situation, I don't think so. And ask any ground pounder, I mean, any of them that have seen any kind of action. You can have any aircraft show up for this troops in contact situation where you're taking direct fire, from across the road in that tree line. Who do you want? I mean, there's no question. I'll bet everything I got right now on
we know it's.
Well, we'll take what we can. We'll take what we can get. But if we got a choice in the stack, bring those hogs down here, man.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing is a mentality. It's not just the equipment. It's a mentality. When I come down a little bit on things like the F-35, is kind of a little bit where we went with F-16 too. It's a jack of all trades thing. Is can you do a lot of missions and do them effectively? Sure, but the A-10 was designed with a couple of, some people say anti-tank, but it's really close air support. It was really an A-1 Skyraider replacement. The venerable airplane in Vietnam that would come in and do the Sandy mission and take those bullets and get those survivors out. It was an airplane that would come in with tons of ordnance and tons of time on station and get the job done. Wasn't pretty. It took some bullets doing it, but it got it done and got you back home or back to the boat as well. But the point is that A-10 guys and gals really are all about one thing: that 18-year-old on the ground with the rifle, who's taking direct fire and needs help. And you can get there fast. You can see the situation on the ground. You train to it. You know what they're thinking. You hear the urgency in their voice. You hear the rounds popping off around the Humvee they're hiding behind. I mean, and you get in there and you go low and you get it done. And that's a very necessary tool, even more so in these urban conflicts where you have a slow slog house to house, and sometimes you encounter a pocket of resistance that you didn't plan on, and you need that extinguished fast, and it's well beyond the firepower that you got with you in your ruck. So I just think we're going to find ourselves in the situation going, man,
Sure would be
F-35s
nice.
are awesome, but it would sure be nice to have something that would get down there a little lower and take some fire and get something on the ground. So, I don't know.
Gonky, segue. This is your topic.
Special. Well, yeah. I mean, right. So, like, I like to work on things. Can I do it with a crescent wrench? Yeah, but I'd rather have the exact right
10
tool
millimeter.
to do it.
That's a good point.
Mythical 10 millimeter
I'd rather
socket.
have the 10 mil by Snap-on, like their top of line model, that like the freaking 12 point or whatever it is. It just fits right on there exactly. Because the crescent wrench, maybe every fourth one I round it off, right? So it doesn't really work. So, I mean, Mover and I were, multi-role types, and I mean, I did low threat casts, for real, and it hurt my brain because my airplane is moving too fast. It's just me. I'm up at medium altitude. If I was down low, forget about it. I'm moving too fast. The ground's too much of a threat. But like, there's no, I don't understand why. I guess our leaders can't see the value of, hey man, have some day one airplanes. Your stealth airplanes, go in there, knock out the heavy stuff. Have your day two airplanes. Guess what? You're going to need specialized fighters. Like, build pure fighters. And then you talked about it, the culture. Let the fighter guys become experts at the air game. Let the air to ground guys become experts at the ground game. And then I think it's like, you don't put your offense team out there when it's time for defense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why there's two different.
We stopped going both ways in football a long time ago.
Right.
It's the tiny little towns that do that, not the big cities.
Yeah, your quarterback's not going to be out there with the lineman, right? So I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me, man. Why would you, have a very specific design, make it the best that you can, which is what they did with the A10, in my opinion, and then same with like the F-15 at the time. And then let the guys and gals operating it become experts at it, because I got pretty good at everything, which most of the time was good enough. But, I mean, it would have been nice to just be able to focus. And if you don't focus, if you're a professional athlete, you don't focus, you're never going to make the top. If you're a race car driver, you don't focus, you're never going to make it. I mean, that's where it's at, man. You got to focus the design, and you got to focus the mindset of the people who are operating those machines, all the way down to the maintainers, man.
Yeah, and you got to understand exactly. You got to understand the bigger picture that goes around that too, just as the air-to-air guy does with whatever's replacing AWACS. I don't know what they're calling it now, but integrating themselves within a an air campaign, and we did that on the ground. I mean, I had a unique opportunity of actually being the first guy out of pilot training to ever get an OA-10 as a first assignment. So it didn't even exist. So I got an A-10 at assignment, and I was super excited about that. And then a couple weeks later, the personnel folks came around and said we need a couple of A-10 guys that are getting ready to graduate pilot training to volunteer for the OA-10, replacing the OV-10 in the airborne forward air controller role. Well, I wanted an F-16, and the quickest way to that was go be a forward air controller, because it's an assignment that if you do okay, you're going to get your first choice of aircraft after it. So that's what I thought. And so I said, I'll go fly the OA-10, and ended up finding it was a very, very challenging, very interesting mission. They didn't even have an OA-10 schoolhouse at that time. So the B course was the A-10 B course. And I was going to bring my Top Gun bullet here, just because we always got to show an A-10 bullet in the program, but it's right here somewhere. But the point is, then we did this little spin up for OA-10, and then there you are, single seat, single ship, flying at red flag as a first lieutenant. Holy crap, man! That's a and I think about it now, tremendous responsibility, a tremendous workload in a single seat jet by yourself. As a new guy, but it teaches you a lot. And then I went to air ground operations school, a joint school, to learn the tactical air controls party system, the JTACs they call it now, and then actually had an additional duty as a by name aligned ground battalion air liaison officer with the light infantry unit. So I've been on the ground with those guys in some real high speed exercises. 321 light infantry, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, hoorah! And found out I was a fish out of water. I mean, I would go out running PT with them in the mornings, and I'd hump a rock over the Kahukus on Oahu, but I was struggling to keep up, man. And but the point is that, I knew that system inside and out. I knew what they're facing on the ground because I've been there with them. And so whether I'm in the aircraft as a forward air controller, on the ground as a battalion ALO, or later on, in an A-10, working within that system, again, you get to be such a specialist, and not just that you've got an aircraft and a weapons loadout that can do the job, but you've got a mentality and an understanding of that little part of the war. Okay? So now, I'm not going and doing wild weaseling, wild wart weasel. I'm not doing, I did some BFM over the North Sea against 1v1 versus F-16. I waxed his ass, but it wouldn't have happened. But the second time wouldn't have happened at all because he would have said, okay, the A-10 is just going to get in a tight turn circle. I just need to get my nose in there better instead of just keep going up and burner, So, but the point is, I'm not going to go out there and clear the enemy clear the skies of the enemy aircraft, but what I do, I'm going to do it very, very well, and there's a need for it. Not all the time, but there is, and there will be always a need for it.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
100%, man. You don't go to the freaking dentist to get your you don't have a dentist set your arm.
You don't
not in America.
You use your proctologist for your dental work.
You use your proctologist for everything, don't you, Mover?
Of course, dude. That's the only way in. Gonky,
so to speak.
Go to bed, kids.
Yeah, not for legal reasons. Anyway, so Gonky, did you guys do phase-based training in the Navy?
Say again.
So as a multi-role guy, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking, if your only job in life is close air support or air to ground. For us, we did phase-based training, which meant, 3 times a year, I was really good at one thing.
Yep.
So, you'd start at BFM, then you do intercepts, then you go into the ACT phase, the larger force, defend the point, whatever. Then you'd move on to basic surface attack, and then you'd go SAT, which is air to ground, like strike, self escort strike stuff you're used to. And then at the end, you do close air support, and then you'd start all over. And unless you were working up to go to war, in which case all you did was what you were going to do at war, which was close air support, non-traditional intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for us multi-role guys, you got good at it just long enough to go do the next thing.
Yeah, we had that. I remember a tracker. It's like a greenie board, right? And it's like, hey, make sure you log a whatever for CAS. Or, we go across the top is like, let's see, you get one for takeoff. Oh, is it night? Like you just go. It was just check mark stuff,
Log
and
counters.
we'd totally BS it, right? Because we needed to.
Oh boy, here we go.
Pencil whip
for legal reasons.
Well,
we're joking. We're joking, but we might have pencil whipped a few things.
So this is a joke, but because they wanted us to do 15 pounds of stuff and gave us a 5-pound bag, it's like, okay, well, let's see. Yes, I rolled off the 180 to land. We'll call that a roll in. It's like
now throw nukes in there. Throw the ECM stuff in there, and stuff that F-35's doing, man. You gotta handle.
And that's not common for all squadrons. I mean, that was my squadron where we did phase-based training. I have seen squadrons, 204 was probably one of them, where you'd have split configured jets. You'd go out in the line and you'd see a 2-bag Viper with a targeting pod, one without a targeting pod, a clean Viper, so you could be in multiple phases at one time. It was always different, but I liked it personally. I liked the way we did the phase-based stuff just because it kind of got you in the mindset like, okay, we're air to ground now. I got to get, I got to go back to the vault. I got to remember the numbers and stuff. What I didn't like was as soon as I got good at it, it was time to go do something else.
Yeah. So my first skipper, he's a Tomcat guy. He's still in actually.
Tomcats.
He's an admiral. Yeah. Super smart guy. And he told me when I first checked in my first fleet squadron, he said, he's like, man, I was a Tomcat guy. I had one mission air to air. He's like, I got really good at it. It took me about a year to learn all the tactics and get good at it. And I had like 2 years after that to perfect it. And I was teaching guys. He's like, unfortunately, in the Hornet community, just about the time you get reasonably good at everything, you're going to roll out of here. Well, he was right. I mean, but in the Navy, you throw the whole boat thing in there too. It's a whole nother phase, man.
But Gonky, remember, just about the time you get used to it, and then you roll into the next phase, it's not the same as the last time.
No,
the threats are ever evolving.
Yeah.
The tactics are changing.
Yes.
They're calling different missiles new names now.
Yes.
It's like, well, we don't do that one anymore. We do, the new one, and it's like.
Yep.
Well, who developed that? Oh, the air-to-air guys. We just got it from them, and they finally sent it to us.
Yeah, it's like, wait, we're not.
And in the F-35, their history has been you get in the jet and the touchscreen's different. There's just I don't know what that does. It's new shit
It's
that
an
I haven't seen
update.
before.
Software update.
They're and so you got a fleet full of jets that have different software updates and you're getting new stuff all the time and that's all great. I mean, I'm sure it gives them more capabilities, but there's a point of overload and task saturation, and there's a point where you get in combat. Combat is different than training. It's I don't care whether it's red flag or however realistic you want to make training. Combat is different. It's always going to be different, and you come back to the basics. You're keeping things fairly simple, and as Gonky alluded to, you got your day 1 stuff and your day 2 stuff and your week 3 stuff, and but these things tend to come down to a more conventional ground-based slog, and air power can be a huge benefit when employed right with the right tools, and it's it's a tool we're not going to have anymore, and it's sad.
Yeah. We've got some questions. That was a great discussion. I got to catch up on some people asking some questions from the audience. D. Stu says it's radical Islam that wants to wipe Israel off the map by whatever means necessary. Thoughts? I think wiping anybody off any maps is a bad thing, and it's the radical militants that you have to wipe off. I mean,
sorry, dude.
No, go ahead. That's you. Yeah. That's your.
I did a tour at CENTCOM 15, 17 years ago. I don't know. Old. Anyways, part of my check-in brief, they had a guy come in because the whole time, this is after I'd been over there, and the whole time I'm like, how can these terrorist groups be recruiting people? And they had a guy come in, and he he was a heck of an actor because he went into this role of like a Taliban pitching to us why they're doing what they're doing and why you should join them. And it was about an hour. And, I like at the end of it, I was no, but dude, it was so funny at the very end. He goes, "Okay, I'm back." And then we were all like, "Oh,
what just happened? Where was I?"
But I lived in Saudi Arabia for 17 years. I went over there and I fought, in Afghanistan, Iraq, and like I thought I had a pretty good handle on those people, so to speak. But after hearing like the pitch that he gave, I was like, man, I'm like, I can kind of see why they're able to recruit people to do such evil, terrible things to other people. I'm not making excuses, but radical Islam wants to wipe Israel off the map. I don't know. The Malaysians, it's a Muslim country, Islamic country over there, and they're the most peaceful, nicest people I've ever met.
But it doesn't take much to radicalize. I mean, look at sports teams, right? I mean, you can ruin somebody's day just based off something they watched on TV that had nothing to do with them because their team lost. I mean, people in mass can do some really stupid things and be convinced of some really dumb things.
Playing devil's
advocate. People want to belong to a group. They want to believe in something, and they want to immerse themselves in it, and it seems like more and more these days and they want to do that with malice.
That's not these days. That's thousands of years of I mean, culturally.
I'd say any kind of radical religious. I think there's been radical Christianity, right? There's been any kind of radical religion stuff is
that's a good point. Bring it back to this is in the name of religion. This is the name of faith and a belief system. It's but you look at us. Look at a relatively Christian nation such as America, and our support and friendship with the Orthodox Jews. And we could get past the difference of Christ with them because you know what, they're good folks, and they're just trying to have a good life and do the right thing and prosper, and that's what we're doing. That's what we go and preach. We want to radicalize people with the idea that you could be free and have your
It's not just religion. I mean, World War II wasn't about religion per se. It was. I mean, look at look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
I just
all
mean,
flavors
this Israeli
of
is
radical. Yeah,
yeah.
there's all kinds of ways people can be radicalized in the manner that is dangerous.
Yeah.
Moving to Ben, he says, jumping ahead, future for A-10 and F-22, they're gone. I mean, I think they're being defunded as we speak.
Let's just double down on the mistakes.
Yeah,
That's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Yeah, the F-22 is a big mistake. We didn't make more of those. I mean, that what's that? You move had a good point another podcast recently about the F-16. Keep that assembly line going, man, because once you stop it, it's stopped. And that the F-22 is a awesome game changer of an airplane. Is for an air dominance fighter. Can the F-35 fight air to air? Yes, but not like the F-22 can, and not with the weapons loadout it's got. And just here we go again. F-15EX. Here we go again. Right?
You need the nerds with the chalkboard.
Yeah.
You don't have those guys, you don't know. And then Doug says, what could possibly replace the A-10, guys? Big mistake. I think that might be rhetorical.
Yeah.
I don't know of anything that's Super Tucano.
No, I mean, well, that's going to say it's an airplane like that, the Super Tucano. There's a few others like that are even lower tech, and they can take the biggest issue there though is taking some punishment, because when you get down low like that, you're down in the regime of the small arms now. And I a thin-skinned aluminum skinned one propeller airplane is a little different proposition. But there's a lot of places in the world where that's a very, very viable, very cost-effective, very effective option. But,
yeah. Zippers Forever says, mental health note to all. I told my kids to stop watching videos as what has been seen can't be unseen. I have enough demons from Liberia, DS, Desert Storm, OEF, San Bernardino for all of us, hence Rika, the Rinka, the service dog. That is a great point. Twitter has been on, and you know what? It's not just the worst of it. A lot of it is not even from this conflict. People are trying to, they'll take a video from something else and be like, this happened in Israel, be shocked and whatever. And not only is it horrific, but it desensitizes you to it.
Well, that's the point. That's the point right there. The video games, the stuff, but my kids were coming up. It was I don't remember they call this. Like you're driving around and in cars and shooting people and stuff. I don't know what they call that game, but
GTA,
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, it's games like that.
Play that as
cops, though. Are they fun? Sure, they're fun for somebody who has the discernment to know that this is entertainment and it's not real. And it's not acceptable. The language is not acceptable. The activities are not acceptable. It just has really not much value at all in society. But so what we kind of did with our kids and they turned out great. God bless. But it was my wife did most of the heavy lifting there. But the philosophy was teach them right from wrong, good from evil, lawful from unlawful, and put them around good people. You got to be a good model of those things. When you get it wrong, you got to fess up and explain what you did. But that means you can't go around, speeding and breaking this law and breaking that law and doing this, that. And it's okay to do this. It's okay to do that. It's okay to smoke weed without, whatever. It's not. So you got to kind of be the example there as well. You're not always going to get it right, but then you've got to just teach them to make good choices. You know what those are. Make a good choice, because you're going to be faced with lots of choices. Do I watch that? Do I not watch that? Do I go to that party? Do I not? Do I take that drink? Do I not? And then you got to say, I think, but if you mess up and make a bad choice, then fess up. You go to that party, don't take that drink. But if you do, call us. We'll come rescue you. You're not going to be in trouble. We're not going to embarrass you and browbeat you and restrict you. But we're going to be disappointed. We might have a little more discussion about that. But you made a good choice out of a bad choice before it became a crime or a cover up. And because you can't hide all this stuff because you say, well, I'll restrict your phone. We'll go look at somebody else's phone or some other computer or the public library or whatever. They'll find what they want to find. and it was sure scary when these cell phones came out and you gave it to a kid. The whole world is on there. Every evil that you want, every good thing that you want, it's all on there. And kids aren't ready for that. And you got to say there's things that your mind's not ready for, there's things your body's not ready for. You just got to teach them that stuff. And it's not acceptable. It's this internet and the social media, the way people talk to each other, it's just not acceptable. And what we need to do is stand up and say, that's not acceptable. I'm not going to honor it with my view. I'm not going to comment to that and make it go viral. I'm going to rebuke it right now and say, that's not acceptable. That is not what our society is based on. And I'm not going to allow it in my community. And
Shanghai, this is exactly why I have Mover as my Twitter feed. Because I don't.
I'm the one that's being corrupted by all of this. Well,
Mover's eyes see all the junk and garbage, and then he sends me the stuff that he'll know I'll actually look at.
I also read all the YouTube comments, which is even worse.
Shanghai, you bring up a good point, man. I remember because my dad worked for Aramco, so I was in Dhahran and during the first Gulf War, and I stayed there the whole time. And I remember AFARTS. Armed Forces Radio, television, radio service, whatever. Yeah. Every day, they were showing some FLIR footage. They were showing HUD footage of I remember one of the Saudi F-15s shot down some Iraqis, and it was I remember back then they were saying it was the first time that they were almost able, right? Yeah. But that pales in comparison to what we have today with everything you were just talking about, And I think of that. It's been 30 years. I'm like, man, 30 years from now, it's going to be even more aggressive, which I don't know how to get more aggressive than it already is. But
World War II used to go to they used to go to the movies and there'd be a movie reel of what's going on in the war.
Yeah.
And it was obviously it was to keep the public support up on that and all. But yeah, it was interesting. As you say, the first Gulf War where it was a 24-hour news cycle and some real time stuff. And I was thinking about being near Dhahran. We're at King Fahd International Airport under construction just north of Dhahran there, and so I've seen those Aramco compounds, the big white walls and stuff. But
so is that.
But yeah, right on. So, but the thing is, we're thinking about our wives, huddled in some base house on our Falconbury in England, watching what we're watching. The skies over Baghdad are illuminated tonight. You got to be thinking, man, they had to add a whole level of scared to their psyche that they're actually seeing the AAA and the missiles and the explosions and thinking that our guys are flying into harm's way up there. Yeah, it's just, but it's that kind of stuff. I mean, I remember as a little kid, seeing the nightly news and seeing Vietnam, seeing some guys in the jungle and stuff. But I just remember it vaguely, just seeing every night there was this GI Joe on TV, a little bit of GI Joe on TV, but it was, I was just a small child. But
you never saw somebody die on TV, no. And I think
you never saw. Yeah. Well, no, you didn't see Saddam Hussein hung by his neck until dead. You didn't see somebody beheaded by a jihadist. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the gift and the curse, right? So
absolutely.
You had in World War II, you had what the government wanted you or allowed you to see because they were controlling everything that came out. It was combat camera, right? And so you watched the reel and you saw what the government wanted you to see. Right. And then nightly news, 24-hour news cycle, for the most part, you saw what the government wanted you to see. Now, 2023, and we're way off topic here, but it goes to your point. Yeah. What you're getting with Twitter is everybody's a reporter, which in some ways is good because now you're getting it unfiltered. You're not seeing the narrative, the spin, all that stuff of the government. You're seeing the spin of the person, that individual.
Sure.
Which means you now, if you're smart, you have to look at things and go, is this legit or is this BS? And do I believe everything that I see, or am I going to question this and go, why is that too convenient? Why is that? What is the catch?
And therein lies the problem, is that, I sound like I'm on a soapbox, and I guess I am a little bit there, a lot really, but and there's two sides to the coin, of course, and I do believe in the freedom of people to express themselves the way they want to, and I believe that there's unfiltered views of things that are independent of any government or organization or political action party or anything else are very, very, very helpful. However, they have to be done so in light of some discernment and some mores. Mores. People don't know this. That is a generally accepted set of values and beliefs of a community. So just the way we are. I mean, now there's subsets of communities and people believe different things, and I get that. But as a culture, whether you want to call it as a community, local community, or a state or a region of the United States or a nation, we have to have some kind of common values, and maintain those as some sort of standard. And when there's no discernment and there's no critical thinking, which is what you're alluding to, Mover, and had the opportunity to teach undergraduate college, and also teach graduate students in business, and what I realized when I taught the first time I taught an undergraduate, introduction to international business, of freshman course, I realized these students don't know how to learn. They're not students at all. These kids don't know how to learn. They know how to memorize and regurgitate and move on. Where's the study guide? Is this what's going to be on the test?
Douglas.
And they did not know how to learn, how to discern things, how to determine whether something is valid, whether it's undergone some sort of a process of critical thinking, of Bloom's taxonomy or whatever. And is this based on a theory? Has the theory been backed up by some sort of research, that makes some logical sense? We may not believe in the conclusion, but it was a lot easier when all the knowledge I needed was in a building on the center of campus, But when there's this internet where you and I can go onto Wikipedia right now and put in whatever bullshit we want and see whatever we want to say we are, and nobody is vetting that whatsoever. And that's why in higher institutions of higher learning, Wikipedia is not allowed to be used as a source. But these kids just don't know, and unfortunately their parents don't know. We're generationally beyond the point where it's almost like this is not even almost within the realm of saving, because. And we've got a president of the United States who can say whatever the hell he wants. It's an absolute bold-faced lie, and nobody calls him on it. Or if they do, it's just yesterday's news. We move on to the next salacious thing. It's just really, really a problem beyond just what we can see on the internet. It's what kind of discernment do we have? It's a discernment to say whether that's true or false, and discernment to just turn the damn thing off, because it's just not edifying whatsoever.
All right, let's catch up. We got a couple more before we move on to our next topic. We're getting janitor is back. Thank you. He's back every week. Never will understand why the people say the A10 is ugly. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
I think it's good.
It's ugly as hell.
It's all business.
It's ugly until you need it.
It's ugly, but well hung. Can we say that? I just did.
Boy. Yeah, great talk as per usual, gentlemen. 11:11. That must mean something. It's lucky. Ignorant question. If A10 fate has been decided and there is no obvious replacement, can the Apache take part of its role? I think it already does, just in a different way, provided they're outside of SHORAD. I don't.
We did joint attack with Apaches and Cobras stuff. Apache's an awesome weapon system, for sure.
Yeah. Though there's a lot of videos out there from Israel right now where the Apaches are taken out. I mean, Hellfires and that gun can do some work too.
Yeah, you don't want that gun in the troops in contact danger close, because it does vibrate a lot, but it's a great weapon for sure.
Connor says, hey y'all, I've been disqualified from commissioning as a student naval aviator for failing only the depth perception test. I can relate with Mover now. Any tips on which path to pursue first? MEPS retest, alternate test, civilian exam. For the Navy, I would go. So what helped me when I failed at MEPS was I went to the squadron clinic, and I tried. I practiced. You had to go figure out if it's something you can get through. So maybe a civilian before then you go MEPS retest. Gonky, what do you think? Navy's your.
Well, yeah. So back when I did it, they gave you the little circle test. That's still impossible.
Yeah. The 5 circles or 4 circles or whatever.
Couldn't pass it. So they gave me they held up a thing, like there was a square thing with a hole in it, had 3 lines, and they'd shuffle like which line's closer to you. And I passed that one. Then when I got to advance for primary flight training, they tested my eyes again. I failed the depth perception test because they only use the circles. They're like, no, give me that little 3-line thing. No.
This is an Air Force base, sir.
Right. That's exactly. They're like, no, that's not approved in the Air Force. I'm like, well, I'm in the Navy. They're like, well, sorry. And so what they did was they gave me cheaters. So they gave me, so I mean, I went from having like 2020 to having 2010. And I drank tons of water, well hydrated, and I took the test again. And the lady told me, she said, just relax your eyes. She's like, we'll be here all day. Whichever ones your eyes gravitate to. Yeah, just kind of give it a 1,000-yard stare, and whichever one your eyes just kind of gravitate to, that's it. And even if I take that test right now, it's such a crapshoot.
It's more of a question than three.
Yeah. Yes. They're like, from the right or left. I'm like, I think that's the middle.
Just try it again, man. Just try it again. Go to a civilian doctor and get checked up. Try it again, because you just got to relax. Got to be well hydrated. Got to be well rested. And just don't get too intent on it, because if you do, I remember the same things, like, and
don't psych yourself out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good luck, Connor. I hope you figure that out. Masick, thanks. Masick says, what are the main differences between an interceptor and an air superiority fighter? Honestly, I mean, semantics. I don't know. I mean,
one example, the Tomcat. The Tomcat was a interceptor. Went really, really fast to go intercept those bombers. It could do well in BFM, but not like some other airplanes could. So
not like an Eagle.
Where
Eagles,
now now like an F-22. I mean, it goes super cruise, and so it's as fast as a Tomcat, and faster maybe, and without burner, and obviously can do some gymnastics in the sky that defy physics almost. So really, these in this day and age, your interceptor and your air superiority, air dominance fighter are going to be the same thing, because they go so darn fast now, and still turn with vectored thrust. It's just a whole different ball game. It's not a gentleman's fight anymore, man.
Oh no, Maxim. Oh, we just did this one right with the Apache. Must have doubled that. Zipper says, I was a TAC P when we went from the A6E to the Hornet.
Right on.
Well, that's a big transition.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And then Brandon says, hey guys, I'm currently applying for a rated pilot slot, OTS, active duty, Air Force this month. I want fighters in NJEP, Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training. But people have told me I shouldn't be that guy that just wants fighters. Thoughts? No. You can want fighters. Just don't tell everybody you're getting fighters. Don't
tell anybody about NJEP until just don't tell anybody at OTS about NJEP.
Yeah.
If you know about it already, like I did when I went there, I was one of a couple of guys that knew about that thing, man. And email me, man, and I'll talk to you as well about NJEP and OTS and all that stuff, because that's the route I went. It's changed somewhat, but I'll get you some gouge on that deal there, man. That's what you want to do, man. You want to go to NJEP and you want to be a fighter pilot. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not that you don't want to, it's just that you don't want to brag to people, stay humble, credible, approachable, help cooperate to graduate, help your bros.
Yeah.
You just, that guy is the one that's like, well, I'm going to be a fighter pilot and I can't wait, and it's like, dude, you haven't even touched an airplane yet. Slow down.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I wanted fighters. That was my mindset. Yeah. So, but, and at the end of the day, and how I conducted myself around other people is like, I'm going to get what I get, but whatever I get, it's because I did 110% of what I could do, and I can be happy with that.
That's a good point too.
I wanted fighters too, and I wanted to go to NJEP because NJEP was fighters or nothing. And so
well, now it's not. Now you can get other stuff out of NJEP, so it's a little bit.
You can. That is true, but I think that's more of a issue of
needs of
not
the Air
washing
Force.
guys out and needs of the Air Force. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this definitively, but I would suspect that somebody that gets a other than a tactical aircraft out of NJEP, either maybe struggle a little bit in the course, and they feel like we don't need to wash this person out of flying. Let's put them in a crewed aircraft, or it's just there's just not better cockpits available, and so
that's what happened to drop. Yeah, that's what happened to Splint. He ended up in tankers, and it was just there wasn't any. It was during that time where they just didn't have any fighter slots, and He ended up flying the U-2, so it worked out.
It's all going to be awesome, man.
Grow where you're planted.
It's going to be awesome.
If you don't get fighters, just accept it, and it'll work out. It'll work out. Seth says, "Thank you, Seth.
Wow,
Fleet
Seth.
Week
Thanks.
just passed in San Francisco. 2 questions. Gonky, did you know any Navy brass band members?"
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Were you in the band, Gonky?
Sorry, I am not musically talented.
You got the tuba. To everyone, what's the floor for the Blue Angels? The ground. Seems like 5,000. They weren't much higher than my apartment. No, it's like Rooster Tail.
Yeah. They weren't much higher, so I wonder if he's talking about the top. Yeah. No, they do
work. They work down in training, and even during the season, the teams tighten it up as they go through the season, and they work it down lower.
Well, they have a high show and a low show too, Seth. So it depends on how the weather was, which will dictate how low they can get. But they try to keep it, they try to keep it as tight as they can, because that's the best viewing for the crowd.
Yeah, that's. And Roderick says, when you combine moral creators with us immoral viewers, just kidding, we're all good. All right, thanks,
man.
And now we're back on track. Douglas, are you still with us?
I am.
We would like to talk about the Russian Airbus field takeoff, sir.
So this is that Ural Airlines. What was it? Airbus?
It's a hotel now, man.
Airbus.
Remember, it's got generators and
Airbnb.
I thought that was probably the most likely outcome, Gonky.
Same.
It was an A321, and it made a forced landing, and they've decided to fly it out. They plan to take it off, and they're saying, "I like."
Was it a 320 or 321? It
says 321 here.
320.
Yeah, 321.
No, that's the 2019.
Okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, this one's a 320, so it's shorter.
So this was a 320. Landed, nobody was hurt, and I love this quote here. According to preliminary technical assessments, the aircraft is fine.
It's good.
The plane is not seriously damaged and will probably be able to carry out flights in the future.
Dude, 167 people. Isn't that everybody, Gonky? I mean, that's pretty much like, I think we're at 100. Yeah, that's all the seats.
No,
they're still waiting to get out of there, man. They're staying in the finest hotel in small village.
In the field.
Yeah.
If you can have this takeoff, Captain.
I don't,
Doug, are they doing anything to the surface? Does it say that?
Doesn't specify.
They're just going to straight up fly it out, huh?
They said they made repairs to the plane. I was reminded, I want to give a shout out to Captain Carlos Dardano, who probably is who they should call. He retired in April. He was the guy that flew the plane off the levee in New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
They should call him.
That's sea level.
Was that levee grass? Was that grass?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. That's the thing. I'm like, how the heck are they going to get that 320 out of there? I mean, the engines
takeoff, dude. Pick the nose up a little bit, get it.
Just pull the yoke all the way back.
It's a stick. You fly. Gonky's just revealed himself as a fake Airbus pilot.
I was talking about the levee, man.
Film at 11.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but see, if you did that with the Airbus, they'd be like, cannot, no, dude, it's fly by wire. It's got, it's like, no, we're not taking off. This is grass. You're an idiot. Retard.
What is the toll? Do you have to put something in the flight computer to get it to go?
Right.
Toga.
Yeah, what is the takeoff data on that?
Toga.
Takeoff. Just pull that nose wheel up, stick the tail on the ground, just keep going.
Man, I don't know. Like, you know
no
what?
Idea.
If they do it, I hope it's filmed. I'd love to see it, because that thing's gonna throw grass everywhere.
That would be. I mean, so if it had been a 321, aren't those susceptible to tail strikes on takeoff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if they're lucky, it'd actually be better if it was a 319. But 320 is at least.
Could you imagine the FAA? Could you imagine the FAA approval to even consider this in America? I mean, these guys. It's been a couple of weeks, and they're just going to launch this thing up.
Yeah, we're poking fun at the Russians, but I do feel bad for their entire, because they're just normal people trying to get from A to B, and here they are getting screwed by the fact that they can't get real Airbus parts for their airplanes. That kind of stinks.
What was the story? They had the hydraulic issue, and then they ran out of fuel. They did a go around and then ran out of. Went to one field to the other. The second field they did another go around, and that's when they ran out of fuel and put it in a
yeah, there were whatever malfunction they had, put them in a fuel, like
because everything's hanging. Yeah, I mean it's you're draggy.
Yeah.
Wow. Shanghai, did you ever fly fatties?
I have not. I mean, I've flown a simulator for 727 out the FAA a couple times, but
so jealous. We'll get to that here in a little bit. What a guy!
It was
You're
something.
my
I was
hero,
like,
Shanghai.
It was like turn. Is this going to turn? Is this going to turn at all?
Yeah.
No, man. I just I thought about it, but a lot of guys that got out when I did go to airlines, but we were going to start a family, and I wanted to be home. I didn't want to miss half the kids' stuff. So it's a good career and good pay and good benefits and all that, but it's a lot of time away from home, and just didn't want that for the fam. So I owned a couple of small aircraft and got my hand in aviation, but nope, not. I just want to be a bus driver.
Dude,
no offense.
Speaking of fighter pilots that want to do general aviation, I talked to T-Bear today, and he was telling me about a guy with an RV-8 that built a HUD with an EAGS funnel, so a gun funnel, and it's based off of the nearest ADS-B data of the airplane, so it gives ranging. It'll turn from the funnel to a pipper based on ranging to the nearest ADS-B track and give you like a gun computed. And I'm like, dude, it's that. Awesome. And he's trying to get like an AIM-9, like a little IR thing to make it simulate an AIM-9. And I'm like, dude, there you go.
Just fights on his back. Fights on his back.
Yeah, it's back, baby.
You guys see this? It's another topic for another thing, but augmented reality, that says something that's coming on, man.
You missed it. We talked about augmented reality with Red 6, where they put it in your helmet.
Red 6, yeah, that's wild stuff, isn't it? Wild
until
stuff.
It breaks. And then you have to eject.
Where do you say this hands-on throttle and stick for the A10C? Where do you put the grease pencil, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine how all the screens, the people touching them, because that's a thing in airliners, man. You look at the airline screen, you're like, why'd you touch this? Why are there fingerprints on this? This is not a touch screen.
We would come back in the canopy. The canopy would be just covered in grease pencil.
Yeah. Our next topic is another feat of strength for the airlines. FedEx 757 had a hydraulic failure and made a gear up landing. We've got that video. Let us play. It's from the fire department at Chattanooga.
Aircraft will be making.
Nobody ever does sideways video. It's always vertical. I don't know people.
Okay. Hey, y'all get ready.
It's like Gonky took this video. Yahoo!
Let him buff out.
He's got the thrust reversers out. I'm surprised they came out.
Dude, they
Can we take a moment to look at the lights on these vehicles? Look at this running board lights.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
He did clear the runway though at the end there.
Yeah, I think they went off like into the overrun, but everybody was safe. Gonky,
nice
what did you? Yeah, what do you guys have to say about that? Good job.
Did they foam? Yeah, good job. I mean, outstanding. Yeah. I was a little surprised I didn't see do they foam runways anymore? Is that something they still do to help prevent fire? I don't know. Shanghai
the foam. We saw there's a T-38 engine when I was down there that came in gear up and they did foam the runway, but that foam now they've found it to be highly toxic, and so
it gives you cancer. It saves your life, but then you have to call 1-800 mesothelioma.
It kills you slowly.
And those guys did a shit hot job on that thing, man.
I mean, being in an airliner with no ejection seat, knowing you're going to land Europe,
and heavy like those guys always are too.
Yeah. And everything was fine. Walk away, they get out. Just kudos to them.
Pay protected. Go home.
Chattanooga. That's not a.
No.
It's gonna be interesting to see what all went wrong there, because you figure, okay, they lost hydraulics, but I mean there's got to be some emergency blowdown or something. I mean they obviously had some significant multiple issues that got them in a situation where they had to land gear up.
Multiple failures of redundant systems. I think that's.
I'm sure it'll be at their recurrent training. We need to ask.
But
Tank.
and those guys are such professionals, so experienced and so well trained that, you just I mean, really all our airline pilots are. You think about, you put your lives in the hands of these guys and gals, and they are very well trained to handle emergencies and do so all the time. So
yeah, I sent Tank a text. I was like, "Hey man, any crazy landings or anything lately?" He's like, "No, it wasn't me." I was like, "Okay, good."
Yeah, Raymond's on the 7.5. I don't know if he
really
talked to him in a while. Connor says, on a positive note, I wouldn't have gotten this far in the process without y'all. Thank you guys for sharing your knowledge and positivity. Just you got this, man. You're gonna make this happen. We're gonna have a success story here. I believe it.
Yeah. Speaking of success stories, Mover, you realize you've got like more subscribers than most channels going, right? I mean, there's a lot of big names. I won't mention them, but you know who they are, who have less subscribers than you, and it's because this positive message you have and the impact that you make is just awe-inspiring. It really is.
Thank you. Doug is going to yell at me if I say anything, but thank you. So
next,
Douglas. And speaking of Douglas, our threat brief for today is the Su-25, which we're going to really anchor on Shanghai's knowledge. Douglas.
Yes, sir.
You're up.
I chose a different article than the one you sent.
Yes.
Yeah.
around his helmet.
This one compares them directly, and I didn't know enough about both airplanes to do that without help.
The punctuation is pretty bad in this article, Douglas. Look, they don't capitalize the Su, the A, the Su. They've got one S capitalized on this. Are you sure this is not propaganda?
Could be. The big differences are in the weight that the aircraft will carry. The A-10 carries a lot more than a Su-25. The A-10 has more range, more altitude, but the Su-25 is faster and more maneuverable. A-10 is more heavily armored and armed. The Su-25 is more maneuverable, which they claim in some articles makes up for the armor in terms of survivability, more difficult to hit. The A-10 has the gun.
Yeah.
1,350
What's the Su-25
rounds.
have? Is it a little
I'm
25
looking for that?
It has
23 millimeter.
Up to 4 guns actually. It carries 30 millimeter pods, and then it has 2 internal. It has up to 4 guns. So not a huge. I don't remember the numbers, but not huge amounts of rounds. I mean, A-10's carrying 1,170 rounds. So, by the way, the F-35 carries 182. I think it is. No, I'm not kidding. It's 182. And it
pew pew.
It's a single shot. It's just
25 millimeter. It's like 6 seconds actually of trigger pull on that thing, but something like that. But anyway, yeah, the Frogfoot is a very formidable airplane. It's one of those Soviet era Russian airplanes that was built really well. It's lasted a long time. Used significantly, but you've seen some of the videos of these things, and I'm not talking DCS videos of these things flying in Ukraine. These things flying in Ukraine, they are like below the treetop levels, man. They are scooting along like at 25, 50 feet above the ground. It's crazy. So yeah, they are faster than the A-10 for sure. More maneuverable, I'd say, in terms of like sustained turn rate, certainly, but they've still got those long, fairly straight wings as well. So they're not going to hold the turn, with an F-16 or anything. But yeah, initially they're going to maybe turn, sustain a turn a little bit more. But nobody's going to beat the A-10 in terms of a turning radius. It turns around on a horseshoe. Yeah. But at one time, you got to be going downhill. But it's a good airplane. I mean, it's a sturdy airplane. Dependable, easy to maintain the field. It can do landings on unimproved surfaces, all of the A-10. Darn good airplane, man. I mean, it really is.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this is almost a weapon school there brief. That's awesome. The Su-25 is the free one in DCS. So if you want to go play that, Gonky, next time you go fly, you'll be in that. The biggest thing, what I wanted to talk about is just in these low intensity conflicts, which one will you see used more, and obviously, the A-10 is going away, so I think we'll still see the Su-25, and whether they upgrade them or not. Do they have any glass cockpit versions at this time? You guys know?
Not that I know of.
Yeah. No. I know they're still, they're not modernizing them like, we were trying to do, but Gonky, got anything on it?
No, I've never, I don't have any experience with it other than it's a purpose-built airplane like the A-10, so it's going to be good at what it does.
Yeah,
it's not armored. It's not armored like the A-10. It can't take the punishment the A-10 can take. But look at something. It's a good point, movie. You look at something like Ukraine, and they're using their attack helicopters. The Russians are. They're using their frog feet.
Yeah, what is the plural of a frog foot? Frog feet?
Frog foot, I think, is maybe,
frog's feet.
Frog feet. I think it's just frog foot. They're using frog foots. No, frog feet. I don't know. Whatever. Obviously, there's a whole different name for it in Russian, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they're using them. They're using them pretty extensively. A lot more than more modern fighters, and because it's an environment where you can get in, go low and sneak in and around and make quick attacks and against troops and artillery and things like that, and get on back out of there. So yeah, they're but man, they're flying low. Holy crap.
But they are faster, right? I mean, it is a faster low level aircraft.
Probably. I mean, a good 80 to 100 knots in just terms of low altitude straight and level cruising speed.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, that's good when you need to get in and get out, but does it have the loiter capability?
It does not have the loiter capability of the A-10. It doesn't have the visibility of the A-10 out of the cockpit either. And
that's crazy. Yeah.
And in terms of a thrust to weight, similar in terms of like it does carry a big and a wide variety of ordnance, but so it's a very, very capable as alternative to like an A-10, and the Russians built them in large numbers. They're very sturdy, pretty simple. And I think it's kind of an airplane, kind of like, I mean, the A-10C with the targeting stuff, it's cool and all, but I mean, really, give me the A-10A. Really, I mean, not just because of nostalgia, but not just because of nostalgia, but back to my point of like having that week 2, week 3 aircraft for the right mission is you want basic, you want easily maintained. You don't want a lot of cosmic systems, and I mean, okay. I will say I like the low altitude safety and targeting enhancement, the LASTI that we had on the A's that they gave us the CCIP and a lead computing gun sight for air to air. But man, my war, we're just dialing mills, man.
I had Jerry on the podcast last night, and he's talking about running mills in an F-105, and I'm like, oh my god, that's an emergency.
Exactly what we did in the A-10, always.
Yeah, that's crazy. Awesome. Well, thanks for the threat brief. We've got a couple chats and then voice messages. Zippers Forever says foam decreases friction, which could increase your overrun. For those of you wondering, Gonky.
Thanks, Zipper. Well, yeah, I was thinking about fire, but yeah.
We learn things. Wretched Rob says, can we get an update on Gonky's wall calendar?
My wall calendar?
There is one flopping behind you.
The OnlyFans wall calendar he's got going?
Yeah, well, that's the question. Is he talking about the calendar behind him, or is he talking about Gonky posing for a calendar shoot?
It's muscle cars. It's on a Chevelle right now. Probably 1970.
Is it on the right month?
No. Wait. No. I've been gone, dude.
Yeah, of course, but out in the wild. Rose says, first time caller, long time listener. Love the content, great source of motivation while going through the OTS application process for engineering officer. That's cool. Awesome. Advice for officers coming from the civilian world. Use your experience from the civilian side, but be a sponge and learn, and don't think you know anything. Take in, and then back that up with your civilian experience.
And Rose, OTS is a game. It's not just get through OTS.
Operate to graduate.
Yeah, it's just a little game.
It's a leadership laboratory and a pressure cooker, and you're going to have a lot of experience in the civilian world that and it's going to seem like you're going back to kindergarten a little bit, but just just do the best you can at all the stuff they give you. Realize they're going to give you more stuff than you can really accomplish in a period of time, so that work together as a team. And then when you get those butter bars, just realize in the military world there is a hierarchy, there's a rank structure, and you got to pay your dues a little bit, and but once you become a captain, major, that's where you're really where the Air Force really is run. So
you awesome. Know what they call the first and last graduate of OTS?
An officer.
Second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant, yeah.
Whether you're OT colonel or OT second lieutenant, you are still second lieutenant. Go make me some popcorn.
I will tell you, being OT colonel was a little bit of an advantage. So there for the last 6 weeks.
Just like in real life, I was an OT major that hung out away from everybody. So
I was allowed to march with my flight.
I never made it past major as an OT or a real life person.
Telling
you're all second lieutenants. Yeah, you're all second lieutenants, and then you go to InJet, and you get your jet, and you get in your first squadron. And you were the top gun at the RTU, and you're making the popcorn. That's right.
Yeah.
You better do that. How well you can make the popcorn is a big indicator of what you're going to do later. It really is. It just is a thing.
Yeah. All right, so we've got some voice chats. Here we go. Let's make this happen. First one, I should have written down who said these, so we'll just have to figure it out. Here we go. Or not. Okay, we'll skip to that one.
Hey, Mover, Gonky, and Wombat. Hey, this is Greg again from SF Bay Area. Yeah, I'm a long-time listener, viewer, second-time caller. Anyway, just wanted to say hello to you guys. And hey, I'm the guy that was talking about Kings Point, the Merchant Marine Academy. Hey, one of the guys that graduated a couple years ahead of me was actually the helo pilot in that, the Perfect Storm, that one that went in the water. I don't have any contact information for you, but I think he'd probably be a good guest. Anyway, have fun, guys, and really enjoyed the show, especially the engine wars. Bye-bye.
Oh, cool.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Gonky, thoughts? Oh, well, Shanghai, Merchant Marine Academy. You know anything about that?
Not much, but I do know the movie he's referring to in that incident. But what I'll tell you is that those folks that go out and rescue, sailors off ships and patrol our maritime waters, dangerous business, man, and they're unsung heroes. Really, really super qualified, super motivated, super dedicated people making a lot of sacrifice. So, God bless them.
Yeah. All right, here's another one. Air shows are boring.
Hey guys, I've been thinking about joining the military as a pilot, but when I go to air shows, I'm there thinking, cool, you're a foot away from each other, but all four of you will get blown up by a single missile. I feel like air shows display the parts of fighter aircraft that I'm not interested in. You guys said it yourself, flying fighters is easy, it's the weapon systems that's a challenge, and that's the part that interests me. Is this a bad thing? Is this saying I shouldn't be joining the military as a pilot? Hey guys, I've been thinking about...
Oh, it got looped, sorry. Fellas?
Well, when I started my journey as fighter pilot, the first bit of training I had to do was jumping jacks and push-ups, which had nothing to do with being a fighter pilot. So it kind of evolves. So once you get to flight training, you don't start off, shooting AIM-120s.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, these are the brakes. What I'm getting at is there's a ton of boring stuff. And honestly, the air show stuff, what you see in air shows really is glorified admin. I think you guys might agree with me. Just some formation flying, a little bit of timing stuff, a little bit of deconfliction, and then that's it. If being a military pilot is what you want to be, go do it. There's going to be a ton of stuff. Dude, it's like the iceberg. The tip is all you see. There's a ton of stuff below the water that you don't see. And, flying air show, those skills bleed over into tactical skills. So, you're going to learn all of the formation stuff pretty early on. But if you don't, you won't have what it takes to do the tactical stuff. But you got to learn to, crawl before you can walk, basically. That's all I got.
Yeah. And the air show is it's a recruiting tool. It's to show the public our military up close. And so it's just an extreme demonstration of power and speed and precision. And it has nothing to do with what the average fighter pilot does day in and day out. And as Gonky said, we learned that to fly formation like that in T-37s. And if you didn't do it well, you weren't going to fly T-38s. Now, we did it 3 feet and not 18 inches or overlapping wings and all that. But look, they practice all winter, 2 or 3 times a day. That's all they do. That one position in that formation, the same maneuvers. They get super good at it. And some of them have never sat in an F-16 until they don't even give them a FAM ride anymore. Before they hire him as a Thunderbird, for instance, it's you're on the team and come get in the jet, So, if they're boring to you, then you won't find tactical flying boring. It's just night and day difference, and very few people who fly anything in the military are going to be air show performer.
Yeah. We lost Shanghai again. Here's what I'll say about that. I think we need to recage our perspective here. Whether you like or don't like something at an air show is irrelevant. What you need to be looking at right now is, do I want to serve my country?
Instead of a state.
Uh-oh. Back? You back?
I can hear you. I don't know what happened there.
All right. So I was just saying, I think it comes down to more, do you want to serve your country? And do you want to sign on that dotted line serving as a pilot or a military pilot? Because there's so many steps you've got between that air show and actually worrying about whether you like fingertip or, flying, CAS or whatever mission you're going to do, that we're kind of getting into the weeds about, well, like that should not be your decision. Like if any one of us had said, yes, you have to like the air show, it has to get your adrenaline pumping, and if it doesn't, you're not meant for that, we'd all be full of it too. We'd be full of it, and you shouldn't listen to us. And I'm not even saying to listen to us now. I'm just saying that get your priorities in line and go, am I willing to write that blank check,
there you go,
payable up to and including my life, to serve and defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States? Is that, and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic? That is your first step right now, because that is the first thing you're going to do. Is you're going to get a commission, you're going to swear in. Everything after that doesn't matter if you like air shows or not. I mean, now, is it a consideration? I mean, I'm in the jet, so I don't watch jets outside. Like when I'm on the ground watching another jet, then I feel like I should be flying. I don't go to air shows now because I think, well, I'd rather be flying the thing. It's just like going to a race. I'd rather be in the race car than sitting there watching a race car. I get that. But let's refocus and think about, why do I want to serve my country?
Yeah. And T-Bear, that answer you gave, I remember T-Bear saying that. Yeah. I thought, that's the best answer ever. And by the way, you could be the ace of the base and a shit hot weapons school instructor and end up in the mission planning cell down in Riyadh during the war. Okay, so like a guy from my base did, and that's just where you are in your career and the luck of the draw. And we need mission planning cell guys too. So you could have an injury that takes you out of flying, and you're going to do some ground job. You want to be dedicated to doing that because it's very important. The tip of the spear is very sharp. It's very small. Less than 1% of the Air Force ever goes to combat. Okay, and so all those other things, like the woman that's going to go to OTS, be an engineering officer, critically important to what I did, putting a bomb on a target in Desert Storm. Okay? You can't do it without all those other things. 330-some thousand people in the Air Force, and only about 1,400 of them are fighter pilots at any given time. They're going to combat. Okay, so you got to put that in context too. That all those other things are extremely important to that mission. And everybody at my base, I know at King 5, felt that they were very, very much a part of that great victory, because they were.
Awesome. Let's try the stealth thing one more time. See if I got this working. And nope. Whatever he sent. This was a last minute ad. I was so proud of myself for adding it, but it doesn't work. So anyway. Ooh, look. Got a spinny banner now.
That's fun. I didn't have the bandwidth to keep my thing up. Take it
yeah, that's gonna, so to speak. There's stuff for that. Lachlan says, any experiences from the three of you with the F-111? Boy, you missed a show last week if you wanted to talk about the F-111. Gonky with Cope Thunder, Mover with General Dynamics, or Shanghai with air-to-ground domain. It's before my time. Guys, you got any F-111 stuff?
I've got a lot of experience flying with all the Aussie F-111 guys, because when they traded their F-111s for Super Hornets, I was an IP and they came over to the States. But I don't have any experience flying with the actual airplane. I remember every single time I flew with a different crew, I'd always ask them, what's the fastest you've had that thing down low? And they'd throw out some, like, indicated, and they'd throw out some crazy number. I can't remember, but yeah, that's all I got.
I flew with a captain that had ejected from one in the pod.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He talked about that, about, the jet keeps going, crashes, and the pods gets out of the pod and he's there. But Shanghai, you got any experience with them? I mean,
two of my buddies from InJet went to F-111s. Two of my best friends there, and they loved them. They flew them in Desert Storm even, but super fast airplane. They could go very, very low, very fast. It was train following radar with a stabilization system that's just rock solid. I know when they first came to red flags, they were going so fast, they were melting the strakes on the leading edge of the wings. Okay, guys, can't go that fast. But very survivable for what it did. It's a bomber, obviously, but El Dorado Canyon, they were very effective down there for that deal in Libya, and is a great aircraft, very, very advanced for its time. I was at one quick story. I was at Zaragoza, Spain, for an exercise. There were 111s there, and I was flying the A-10 out of England, and they took a bird strike on the right seaters, right through the windscreen, and decapitated him. So imagine this dude flying home with his buddy, decapitated in the right seat. So any airplane that flies low and fast like that, birds and stuff's a big factor. So, but yeah, so that was a great aircraft for sure. And again, awesome. part of a mix of a lot of different types of aircrafts that did their job. I'd take an F-111 for that deep strike, over a lot of other aircraft in a hurry. But, just useful life of the thing, and all.
Yeah, and Garrett says, as someone who is going through the USMC aviation process, could you guys get a V-22 pilot on? V-22 is complex and would love to hear from a pilot POV. When people ask about getting certain people on channels, it's not because we don't want to. It's just because I don't know anybody. I don't have connections.
I might be able to work.
Shanghai, maybe you'll have somebody on the old channel.
Maybe so.
Eventually.
Yeah, I'd like to learn about the V-22. It's a fascinating aircraft.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to replace everything else, but see.
All right, you guys ready for the mental health minute? You guys are way better experts at this than I am. So today's mental health minute is when to walk away. So I was trying to think of a good way to kind of segue into this or talk about it. And mental health is important. And first off, if you're suffering from any kind of issues, please talk to somebody. 988 is always a good one. VA, their military one source. There's always outlets. Don't try to suffer in silence. But there comes a point in everybody's career, whether you're in the military, in the civilian sector, airlines, or whatever, where you're going to have to hang it up. You're not going to continue on this path. If you're a fighter pilot, the world's greatest fighter pilot, one day you will have a Finney flight. Hopefully it's a Finney flight that you know about, but unfortunately there are people that have Finney flights and they don't know it's the last time they're going to step to that jet. But ideally, one day you'll know, whether it's your decision or somebody else's decision, that it's your last time going to this airplane. And today's mental health minute is about, one, knowing when that time is, if you make the choice yourself, whether it's time for you to move on for your own personal reasons, for your family, you don't like the institution, whatever it is, your mental health cannot take it anymore to be a part of this, whether it's military, civilian, whatever. At some point, you have to know when to walk away and say, I've had enough. Just like running cold, we have retrograde, when the air picture is too bad and, we can't fight anymore, we'll get out. We spent a lot of time in T-38s talking about, if we're in a fur ball and we lose situational awareness, we're going to get out and not make this problem worse. So whether it's tactically or strategically, it's important to know when to walk away for our own safety and for our own mental health, so we're not pushing a bad situation. It's tough as a fighter pilot, because as a fighter pilot, we want to keep fighting and doing and whatever, to the point where we'll drain ourselves. We'll bring ourselves down because, we know it's bad for us, but we're going to keep fighting for this abusive relationship. So today's Mental Health Minute is about knowing when to walk away, and more importantly, guys, how to deal with that change when you do walk away. How do you reconcile that about, hey, I just said, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I'm done. And so I'll turn it over to you guys, because you've both told stories of doing exactly that in your military careers.
Go ahead, Shanghai. You're the guest.
Well,
you go first.
Yeah. It's a big topic. I'll try to be brief, but the thing is, you just, I think the most important thing is to sort of be in tune with your mental state, and and that's something maybe difficult to do objectively for yourself, but have that person or people in your life that you trust, who you have a relationship with, where they'll say, hey man, you okay, because you seem a little this or that, or you're not quite as sharp or whatever. And I've tended not to have those people, and I will admit that in the fighter pilot culture, where you've got a bunch of Type A people who have probably not failed at much, if anything, and then it's super competitive at a level that's probably not very healthy, frankly, but it's necessary, I think. And and you can become so focused that you just burn out, and the burnouts are, they can be abrupt and ugly, and you hope it doesn't end in a tragedy along the way as well. So and I'll just say, for my own personal thing, is that this happened to me when I was at the fighter weapons school, which is the pinnacle of a fighter pilot's sort of ascension along the ladder as a junior officer. And all the things that I didn't understand, didn't seek to understand, didn't know what to call them, and I do now. A lot of those things happen: imposter syndrome, just this overwhelming pressure, uncertainty about the future of the career path, just a lot of things that pressure, not so much pressure, but it was time to start a family or not, and so all those kinds of things, they all kind of came together in sort of a perfect storm of I was just mentally exhausted, and so and I could have pressed on, but I felt like I was maybe becoming a little unsafe, and certainly less effective than you need to be, or I should have been there, and certainly that I was built to be there, and so there's more to that story. But the point is that it was very difficult, and my Finney flight was the flight the day before, so this was what you talked about, was not that plan the thing and tear it up, but it was very difficult, and then I became a little bit of an outcast for a bit there, and but my initial commitment to the Air Force was up anyway, and so the whole process of PCSing was, and separating from the Air Force was not an issue, but then it's going, what am I going to do next? But you want to plan it a little more ahead of what I did as well, but you got to say, look, I'm a talented person, and there's another fulfilling future there for me. And they say the average person in their lifetime has 3 different careers, not jobs, but careers. So change and adapting to change is a part of any experience. But and then I'll tell you real quickly too. When I left the resident manager job at the Phoenix House, which was just going to be helping lock it down for COVID, and 3 years later, 3.5 years later, so there, I burned out on that too. You can't work 100 hours a week every week and not take any time off and have no social life. Work might be very important. My kids were grown. I'm divorced, amicably divorced, but you got to get on with life too. And I'd thrown myself into another thing, third thing actually, it turns out for me, and just put everything I had into it. And you can't do that. You have to have a balance between those things. And then, as Mover said, the transition then away from that is, so it was a good decision to say, hey, look, and I actually, back in it was May of 2020, two that I said, hey, I think I need to transition away from this, full-time everyday thing. It was August before I actually left. Um, and so that burned out more in between, but then I thought I had a plan for afterwards. When a few things didn't work out, I became despondent, frankly, and a little bit bewildered about what to do. And I went over to the VA. It was one night. It was dark. It was raining. I was just there's a kind of walking around the downtown Oklahoma City area, and I was thinking, man, I'm just like, I was just at a point. The holidays were coming up. It was just before Thanksgiving, and I was just thinking that, man, I should, it's August to October. I should have something better going now, and I just felt like well, maybe I'm an imposter. Maybe the greatness of the past is used up in the past, and it just felt like alone and sort of lost, frankly. And it's hard to miss. But I went up to the VA to the ER because it was nighttime. I walked in. I just said, "Look, I'm just a little down, and just a little mentally having trouble focusing on what's the priority. Just not even just to the bigger picture of life, but like, why am I walking around downtown at 8 o'clock at night in the rain? And so it's just a couple blocks to VA, and so they're very kind and take your vitals and sit you down and have a doctor talk to you, and they have a mental health person come in and talk to you, and then they're wheeling you up down through the catacombs to an elevator to take you to the 8th floor. Um, uh, Semi against your will, I mean, frankly, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't against my will, but it was just. But you know what? My will was if this is what the professionals think I need, that I need to go to the psychiatric ward of the VA hospital, and which has a stigma, the 8th floor, and I'd taken a lot of guys and checked them in over there from the veterans house, but if that's what they think I need, then I'm going to be open to that. And you know what? I stayed. I could have signed myself out at any point, but I stayed 4 or 5 days longer than I even had to, because it was a good place where I could rest and get some counseling and get my priorities back straight and just sort of get my point of reference straight again. And and I left there the day before Thanksgiving and enjoyed Thanksgiving with my children and their mother and her family and friends and things, and it was a good day, a good experience, and it was a process that helped me get on the right path to a better mental health and 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 excitement about the future and a better balance in life and things. And so I'd say the answer to the question is walk away before you have to, before you're a danger to somebody, when you still have your dignity. And if you need some help in doing that, get it. And there's a lot of resources for people, whether they're military or not. And the stigma about mental health issues is becoming less of one. I felt like it was something that you didn't want to say. I don't understand my feelings, as a fighter pilot, but yeah, I'd say it's it's something that but once you do it, once you walk away, don't look back. Um, you can look back fondly at good memories, but don't compare. Don't second guess. Just move forward. And it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Just if you take a bite today of your goals towards whatever, you're making progress. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonky.
Yeah, Shanghai. I mean, you guys have both said a lot. I won't say a whole lot other than, just because you walk away, that doesn't mean you're quitting, right? So that doesn't mean like you've lost, right? When to walk away that can be determined by a lot of things. So like I remember when I was active duty contemplating to stay in or get out, the conversation in the ready room was, what do you do when you're like 24 and you've achieved your lifelong goal?
Yeah.
Right. We're all sitting there like, well, I guess I could go to the airlines. It's like, that sounds pretty boring. It's like, well, they make a lot of money. It's like, well, yeah, but they're gone a lot. Right. So, I mean, what do you do? And I saw a lot of guys just keep doing what they were doing, even though they were unhappy, just because they like, what else do you do? Right. So, and I think it's Jim Rohn that said this, is like, you're not a tree, man. If you don't like where you're at, move. Right. So, I quit active duty. I quit the Navy, went to the Air Force. I've quit a lot of things. And, it's Shanghai mentioned it. The timing's got to be right, and I think that's the trick, is knowing when the timing is right. And if it's flying airplanes or career or anything like that, and I hate to keep saying this, but I'm a Christian, and I always try to look at where I think God wants me to go. I know it sounds crazy, but I am not a smart man. I don't have the mental capacity to figure these things out, but I look for my own personal signs of where I think I need to go, and I go, and I don't look back. And that has served me very well. Is it luck? You can call it that. I think it's otherwise, but I do know, and Shanghai talked about it. Like, I'm the kind of guy, if I would have stayed, like, I think bad things would have happened, because you start to not care, and that's the worst thing that can happen, right? So you need to know when to leave, not only for you but for everybody else. And I think it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. And you don't realize where your talents, everybody has talents, will take you. The things you'll do. Like, I mean, this podcast is a great example. If I would have never left active duty Navy, I would never have got to talk to known mover, or actually get to talk with Shanghai, right? A famous A-10 pilot, right? So, I mean, you just don't know, what you don't know. So don't be afraid, don't be afraid of weighing your options, and and making changes, and knowing when to walk away, and then just trusting that decision. But that's all. I mean, that's all I
think
got.
one other quick thing is don't let your identity be your job, or your spouse, or your girlfriend, or your car, or whatever it is, because that, and I did, and I think as a group we do, and it's okay for it to be a significant part, and some things require more than others. They require more sacrifice. They require more outside study, and I will tell you that military aviation, at any level, but certainly at a fighter pilot level, is one of those things. You can't half-ass it. You can't phone it in, and you can't study tomorrow for the test that's today. And that test is probably going to be in the air, and the wrong answer may be your life, or somebody else's life, or somebody's life on the ground, or whatever, or dinging a taxpayer's property, or whatever. But the point is that that's not what life's about. And I agree with Gonky. I mean, whatever your faith tradition is and your belief system, there's room for a lot of those. But I'll tell you, one book that you can read is Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. It's the second best-selling book in the history of the world, next to the Bible. And it's a faith-based book, but it's not from any particular denominational view. It uses 35 translations of the Bible, and it's just an attempt to say, what are we here for? What's the purpose of us in this life, and what is it in the bigger context of eternity? Or and I think if you read that, you'll find that maybe your belief system will change a little bit into the fact that we're not here about flying jets, or doing this job or that job, or the Navy or the Air Force, or Israel or Hamas, or whatever, or YouTube or Twitter. We're here to be good people, to raise some progeny that are good people, to love each other, and improve our world. Do what you can with what you got, with where you're at, and certainly career is important, and a comfortable life economically is important. But I'll tell you what, being the biggest hero of the war, or having the longest career, or reaching the 4-star rank, or whatever, those are all good things. But not compared to raising good kids, who are good young people, who are going to have good life, and keep that going. So there's just other priorities in life as well, and I think a balance in all those things is important. It's hard. It's easy to lose that when you're focused on one goal, even as important as it might be. So.
Yeah, and I want to point out, we do have an audience, as we've seen through some of these chats, that are aspiring to be fighter pilots, that, make them tell you no. I say that all the time. Don't self-eliminate. All that means is don't self-eliminate. Don't be afraid to walk away. no might be the answer. Make them tell you no doesn't mean, the answer won't be no. It just means that don't make yourself the obstacle that prevents you from achieving your goal. Go out there and take it. And if the answer is no, there's a whole lot of life out there other than this job. There are some miserable people flying fighters in the United States military.
Oh, yeah.
Period. That does not mean they're happy. It is cool to do. It is a fun, fulfilling job. You are serving your country. All that stuff is awesome, but it ain't everything. So don't be afraid, even in the early phases, to walk away and go do something that better fits you, that's more fulfilling for you, that takes better advantage of your talents.
That's a good point, Mover. And I think my answer might have been a little more of the macabre, but real quickly that was kind of part of my decision too. Is I had done all the great things I was going to do in the jet. I was blessed to have that experience, and my career path was going to be finish weapons school, go to squadron officer school, be the generals, our 1-star wing commanders, C&I captain, then go to the Pentagon for a 3-year plum tour, and then come back to flying at some point and be a fast burner, be major below the zone and all that. But that's great. That sounds exciting as well. But it allowed me to say, you know what, this has been awesome. And what I'm starting to look at it as not as awesome and as a compromise and as a now that's going to suck, but then maybe in the future, and when you and then you got to get a master's degree to become a major and all this stuff that it just didn't seem to have anything to do with what I was primarily doing, was just at the PhD for fighters pilots, So when I started to become a little disgruntled, I guess is what I'm saying, when I started to not be so excited about it and just, it's awesome and we're awesome and we want to be more awesome. And when it became, there's a lot of hard days in there, but when the excitement became scrutiny and the scrutiny became disgruntled a little bit, and when we started kind of, when it started to be, that conversation started to be mumbling about the shitty new rules or whatever, instead of excited about what we're doing, then that was the time to maybe, I think that was the time to consider walking away. You don't want to walk away when there's just some adversity. Oh, I busted that first check ride in pilot training. I guess I better SIE because I'm not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just fight for it. If you want to, there's nothing wrong with saying, man, I really wanted this. I thought I wanted it so badly. I thought it was going to be this. And to me, it's not that. And so I'm going to go use my talent somewhere else. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't do it at the first sign of adversity. I think sometimes we make the quitting or the whatever too easy, but as a society. But at the same time, you'll know when your attitude is changing from one of hope and excitement to one of fear and worry and you don't want that. You don't want to become disgruntled and then disenchanted and then just sour, because it'll eat you alive.
You still need grit. You're going to need grit no matter what you do. You need that ability to, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going. This is a discussion of, when is this not a fit? When do I walk away, whether it's, over time or mid-career or early in your career or whenever, at some point you're going to have to walk away. And that's all. Douglas, I always love hearing from the resident psychologist in our group, especially when it comes to mental health.
For legal reasons, I'm not a psychologist.
Please put on TV.
I think that there's a human tendency and a cultural tendency to eat what's put on your plate, to finish what you started. I mean, there's all that pressure toward completion. And when you get in a situation like you guys are talking about, the common thread I got both from Shanghai and from Gonky is find somebody you trust to take a look at it. I mean, if that means a faith leader, if that means a professional, you need somebody to say, hey, is this really where you need to be? Because you might not be able to see it yourself. And like Saigon said, though, at the same time, listen to your gut. And if your gut is saying time to walk out, check with somebody you trust. And it's okay to choose a new path. sunk cost fallacy is something people might want to look into if they want to know more about this. Just because you've put a lot into it doesn't mean it's still good.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yep.
That's it from my side of the table.
Awesome. Well, no, I think that covers the mental health minute, and I think that covers all of the topics except for one. I don't think he's watching right now. Go to Twitter and ask Wombat at TR Matson about his UFO story.
What?
He told, oh yeah, dude, he's got a UFO story. And I told him I was going to out him, and he's like, no, you're not. Bet. Because you know how he is with UFOs and stuff. He saw something. I'm not going to say what. I don't want to ruin the man's thunder. But if
he's been flying.
He's been flying. I'm right here. Go follow him on the Twitter and make sure you tweet and ask TR Matson about the unidentified aerial phenomena that he saw that has shaken him to his core.
I didn't know. I'm gonna have to call him.
Oh, dude.
Get up on that.
It's past his bedtime right now. That's why I know he's not watching right now. But because you know how he loves alien Twitter, like that whole thing. After we did that thing, he's got so many people like personally asking questions. So
really,
this has happened recently.
Wouldn't have thunk it.
Last night, yesterday.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, there was an occurrence. That's all I'm going to say. But go check out. And tomorrow night at 8:11.
8:10, dude. Come on.
Yeah, 8:10. Yeah, it's 10. Yeah, it just happened. It happens to be October 11th or 10/11, but yeah, at 8:10.
10/11 at 8:10.
There you go.
Check out Shanghai's new podcast. When we figure out, I'll put a link in the description once I figure out what the channel name is. And Shanghai, parting thoughts from you as our guest. Thank you for being on the show, by the way, dude.
Man.
It's so great to have you.
It's great to be here again. It's 2 years gone by fast, and I apologize to you and your audience for a couple of episodes ago when I was just right at the brink of being on board, and then had some technical issues related to theft of some equipment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We made it work.
Crazy.
Did they get it back?
Did you recover it?
I recovered some of it. Just the mic stand, which I'm not using today, but the super awesome HD camera and the sound mixing boards and stuff I did not recover. But
oh no,
it's we know who the perpetrators are and all, but it's just one of those things. Just one of those setbacks there. But it's really struggling to. I thought I had an alternate system going, and then that anyway. I just apologize that it was like last minute and I wasn't there, but yeah, man, it's good to. I've watched you guys, religiously, pretty much. Usually not live, but I'll watch them back and really enjoy the episodes. And this new Mover Gonky show thing is awesome. and I mean, Mover's really just taking advantage of Gonky's fame.
Yeah. My 30,000 subscribers is just
congratulations, Gonky. By the way, on the 30,000.
It's a great partnership. Mover knows how to build an audience, and Gonky knows how to enthrall everyone.
Gotta take advantage of that, and then make me edit all the videos for his own channel.
Exactly.
No.
Right. I make thumbnails. Oh, look at me. I'm going in the woods for 2 weeks. Mover, you got it.
Yeah, Gonky Wombat Mover show. But no, I've really enjoyed it. You've had some great guests and also great discussion. It's a good bro chat, and then the mental health thing, Movers, is really cool that you're doing that because I think that hope that's helping some people. It's good to talk about. And for me too, it's good that in the 2 years I've had some challenges with that. It really is just more about just recognizing that I've had challenges in the past too that I didn't address, and it's good to get that stuff out and to talk about it. I've enjoyed hearing you guys about it, and then it's also I had no qualms about coming back here and being in your program and fessing up to that might not have been as awesome as it appeared 2 years ago, So because I know you guys are a non-judgmental audience for that and supportive dudes, and Movers reached out to me, hey, some text here and there, man, how you doing? And I appreciate that a lot. So
yeah, hell yeah,
good to be here.
Gonky.
Oh, Shanghai, thanks, man. Awesome.
Just sitting there looking pretty, Gonky. That's all you ever do, man. I'll tell you what. Douglas.
I've got nothing more.
Awesome.
Good show. Thanks, Shanghai.
One more from the kids at home from Banks. God, thank you, Banks.
Thanks, Banks.
Always enjoy the live show. Pray for Israel. Yeah, I mean, no matter what you think, the loss of innocent lives is terrible, especially in horrific ways like that. So we what is it? We pray for peace, prepare for war. You know, that's
right.
Just the way it is. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for watching. We'll see you guys. He'll be back on Monday, right, Gonky? Next week?
Yeah.
Should the Divas schedule allow it, we'll be back on the Monday.
Yeah, I'll be back Monday.
Yeah. Don't forget about it's $1. You can buy Absolute Vengeance on ebook. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye. All right.
See you.